Hello, thanks for watching Twins Reviews. In this tutorial, you will learn all the basics that you need to know to start and finish a video in Adobe Premiere Pro 2020. Alright, let's get started. Open up Adobe Premiere Pro and wait for it to load. I'm using version 14.0.4, but it shouldn't matter too much, as most of the older versions look similar anyway. Hit New Project, name your project, and choose a saving location. I recommend desktop so you never lose it. You'll be greeted with an open workspace like this or something along the lines. You may have learning activated. You can definitely check out the learning feature if you care. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will select the editing layout at the top of the screen. You can place tabs anywhere you want and even delete them, as well as add ones that are not in this layout. This isn't something you need to touch for now unless you accidentally delete a panel. If you do, go to Window, Workspace, and Reset to save layout. If you do not see some of these panels, you can add them by heading into the Window option. Alright, let's get some videos in here. You can either drag files into the bottom left panel or import them by hitting File, Import. Once you have chosen them, hit Open and they will appear in your project panel. You can scrub through the video by hovering over the clips from left to right. Double-click a clip to have it show up in your source panel. This panel is for previews only, and it is not a panel your final project will be in. I will note the 1/4 is the quality that you view your clips in. This has no effect on the final export, it just makes editing less laggy. Alright, let's talk about the timeline, also known as the sequence. You can have multiple sequences in one project, but for now you will only need one. There are two ways you can create a sequence: by dragging any clip from your project panel into the timeline panel, or by manually creating it. Let's go ahead and drag our clip into the timeline. As you can see, this makes things look way more welcoming. When we dragged in our clip, we didn't get any sequence settings, as Premiere Pro matched all the camera settings to the sequence. For example, if you're recording 1080p 60fps, your sequence will be 1080p 60fps. This will be a little bit more clear when I explain the manual sequence creation. As you can see, another item was created in our project panel. The sequence is indicated by the blue icon in the bottom right corner of the item. I like to rename it so I don't mistake the sequence with my clips. I also like to separate it from my clips by creating folders. Hit the folder or bin button in the bottom right of the project panel to create one. You can drag your clips into that folder. And now our project. Everything you see in the right monitor is how your project is turning out. You change it by manipulating clips in the timeline panel. As I mentioned before, you can have multiple sequences in one project. Let me show you. This time we will create a manual sequence. Head down to the project panel and click the sticky note button. You will see more than one option, but you don't have to worry about them for now. Select sequence and you should get a sequence selection screen. All of the information on the right corresponds to the selections on the left. Most likely you are using a DSLR, so select digital SLR and choose from there. If you are trying to edit screen recorded videos, you can select any selection that fits your need. 1080p 60fps for example. I'll rename this sequence so I don't get confused. As you can see, there's now another sequence in the timeline. Think of it like having two different projects. I will delete this one for now, as we will only need one sequence. Now let's talk about layers. As you can see, there are 3 video tracks and 3 audio tracks. This is for stacking video or effects and layering sound effects. Anything that goes above on the timeline will appear above on the video. There are some more options that you may find useful. The I is to disable seeing a track, the M is to mute a track, and the lock button is to lock your layer in place so you don't accidentally move it. I also use the lock button if I want to delete the audio track for a video layer. Simply lock the video track and delete the audio layer. If you find that you need more tracks, right click above the tracks, click Add Tracks, and fill in the amount you need. Now let's talk about tools. Each tool has a shortcut. You can view it by hovering over it. The ones that we will talk about and are most important are the Selection tool, the Blade tool, the Type tool, and the Pen tool, which is a little bit more advanced. The Blade is simple. All you do is cut tracks with it. Simply click on the place you want to cut your footage or audio layer. To make this process simpler, make sure you have the magnet snap enabled. The Selection tool is what you use to move clips or shorten them. If you want to shorten or lengthen your clips, simply go to the end or start and drag to the direction you need. Make sure there's a red arrow that appears. The Type tool is the tool that allows you to put text on video. Let's select it and click on the right monitor. This places a marker down. Let's type something in. In order to edit text, we will need to enable the Essential Graphics panel. Hit Window and enable the Essential Graphics. I don't like how it took so much of my space, so I'll move it to the right and adjust my workspace. You can play around in the Essential Graphics, all the options are pretty self-explanatory. I do want to mention that when you select to type, a text layer is created in your timeline. You can extend it if you need to using the Selection tool. Now let me explain the effect controls panel on the left hand side. It is one of the most important ones. Here you can select any clips on the timeline and edit it. For now you can apply some transformations. Make sure your clip in the timeline is highlighted white to make sure that you are making changes to it. If you are making changes and you don't see anything happening, scrub through your timeline to the clip you're editing. You can also drag effects on your clips from the effects panel in the bottom left. There are a lot of effects. I suggest you watch specific tutorials on how to get a desired effect. This will make your learning experience better. Let's search Gaussian blur, as it is a pretty easy effect. I can either drag it on my clip in the timeline or into the effects controls panel. Let's drag it into the timeline to make sure we are putting it on the correct clip. As you can see, the effect appeared in our effect controls panel. Let's bump up the blurriness factor to see what effect it gives us. We can also animate these effects by using the stopwatch icon on the left of every effect. Once the stopwatch icon is blue, that means we will see a keyframe being placed in our mini timeline. We can create another number value in the same effect to create another keyframe. Premiere Pro will animate the rest. Let's play around with some values and create something. If the stopwatch icon is not enabled and you are making changes, then that effect will stay permanently and will not change. Alright, let's try to add some sound. Unlike the previous time, we are going to drag the file in instead of importing it. Essentially, it does the same thing. Once I've imported my clips, let's drag it to the timeline. I can double click on the open space here on layer A2 to see the waveforms and the volume. Here is where the pen tool can come in handy. You can place keyframes with it by clicking on the white line in our audio. Simply drag it down or up to create an audio gain or drop. I think I'm going to make my music fade in. Let's double click the layer again to return to its normal state. I'll make some final changes, and I think I'm done. Let's export the video. We do that by hitting File and Export. This will bring up the export menu. You can export in any way you want, but I would recommend H.264 and editing some options. First, let's rename our file and save it to the desktop by clicking the blue file name. Then let's make sure we render at maximum depth. And to get the best quality, I recommend VBR2 pass and having a target bitrate of 30 and a maximum of 40. As you can see, this just made our final video weigh 3 times more, but it also means that it will be better quality. Make sure you have the maximum render quality box checked and you are ready to export. Alright, I really hope that you learned something from this video. I did write a script for this so that I made sure that I didn't miss anything, but hopefully I was in some shape or form helpful. Drop any questions or suggestions in the comments below and I will try to answer them. Let me know if you have any other tutorial suggestions and I will go ahead and try to make them if I know how to do it. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Peace.